Okay, folks, here we go, ready for this week's bulletin. Hope you're sitting tight. Look, having looked at this bulletin, this goes to show me how important teamwork is. Because if you get reporters working out in the field and their work doesn't get shown properly because maybe the vision mixer's not got it right, or the sound person has not got it right, or there is some other technical issue, then it's disappointing for that reporter having done all that work, and that work is therefore not showcased properly. This is a bit of a mess of a bulletin, and you look at it and it's pretty unprofessional. Now maybe, and I don't know, there were people working in the gallery who hadn't done their various roles before. Well, clearly that's the case, because there are lots of sound issues, there are lots of technical problems, and I think it really spoils the bulletin. It makes it more difficult for the presenter. I don't understand why, when I was over, we had the discussion that we should, and as Chris suggested, we should do the headlines as recorded. And there are some other recorded bits in here where you get some nasty jump cuts. So all in all, technically, it's wrong on very, very many levels, which is unfortunate because there are some reporters going out to try and get some really decent stories, and there are original stories that we have come up with. So technically, we need to be doing more rehearsals. We need to know what each role involves and practicing more. That's what rehearsing is all about. And this just shows me that there is not enough rehearsal going on, and everyone being kept in check by a director who is trying to pull a team together. So I don't know who those people were. It may have been the first time you did it, but it is technically a pretty poor bulletin going through the studio. Anyway, let's get on with some of the content. So I've not heard a word of Juliana yet, which is pretty poor because those are your headlines. So were they live? Were they recorded? And look, Juliana, there's an issue here also with the sound. I mean, this is ugly because you've got a cable coming out sideways. Now, if you have another button, do another button up, and that will sit in the middle. And because that is the way you are, you won't be looking over this side. You won't be looking over that side. You will most of the time be looking straight to camera. So you want a microphone here in the middle, okay? So that is the important place to put it rather than strap it over to one side, which just looks daft and may have been an issue why your sound is not great either.
Ian, housing developments in the country. The order queue isn't up.
You see, that's the worst thing you want to hear as a viewer. You know things are wrong. You know your presenter is slightly flustered, which we don't want to show either, and therefore, all in all, it's got off to a pretty bad start. And I don't know what is going on with the headline, so I'm not drawn into your programme at all.
Justice is served as an armed robber.
So we've got a mix of sound here. It almost sounds like it's been recorded, but here we've got a bit of live studio, so somebody working on the sound doesn't know which is which, but that's what rehearsals are for. So we know, and we go through the top again, so we know which buttons to press, which ones to fade up and which ones not to.
New homes in Winchester.
Campaigners say the countryside.
And now we've just butted into, so we're talking about new homes in Winchester, and we've gone into some small little animal, it looked like, or a leaf, I don't even know what it was, and now we're starting a report.
Had been threatened by council plans to build.
And now, just to compound it, we've punched up the studio and put our presenter under pressure because she doesn't know where to go. So there are all sorts of mechanisms here. You would never come back to the studio unless your presenter is happy and you have made a decision about what we do next. As a director, you will be calling those shots. Now, I don't know who was directing, and I don't know how much experience you have, but that is the process by which you go. When something is going wrong, you will make a decision about where to go next and only go to it when the presenter is happy.
6,000.
Campaigners who are angry about a massive...
And unfortunately for Juliana, she's been told what to do. She has started, which is great, but you've also got the camera people. This is, I don't know if this is her camera 1 that's pulled out, or if it's camera 2, I'm not sure. You know, bringing in a 2-shot, which is unnecessary, obviously, because this doesn't tell the whole story. So all in all, lots of technical issues that are wrong that we need to address.
Yeah. Okay, campaigners who are angry about a massive new housing development in Eastleigh are meeting tonight to discuss the next steps in the campaign. The plan is to build more than 6,000 new homes, most of it on the greenfield side. The protesters fear it will damage the area. Our reporter Connor Brooks finds out more.
Okay, so finally, we've got a link out, which is good, and we'll get onto the package. But it's been a very, very painful 1 minute and 11 seconds so far, and I doubt many people are still watching.
Campaigners say the countryside is being threatened by council plans to build 6,200 new homes. Eastleigh Borough Council is debating.
Connor, just think about your script there. It's absolutely fine, but you stutter before the word homes. In a voiceover, it's all got to flow, and you can do it as many times as you want, so you must do it again.
It's impossible sites for new homes, with land near Bishopstoke and Fair Oak looking to be a favourable option. Local campaigners Action Against Destructive Development Eastleigh say that council's favourite plans are the worst options.
And be careful with your diction, because you speak very quickly, you've got to slow down. But these are good, very good visualisations of what your story is about.
They believe planning options with B and C would be disastrous for the local area, as they are isolated and would not contribute to Eastleigh. They are backed by the Campaign for Better Transport, who say that the plans would be bad socially and economically. We've reached out to Eastleigh Borough Council, who are unavailable to comment. The proposed plan...
I think reached out is we asked Eastleigh Council for comment, but they were unavailable to give us a statement.
Is expected to be finalised in the coming months.
And then we get a black hole, okay? We hate black holes in television. So that's all about timing. What are the outwords? And when I was there, we said we leave the last shot long. We leave it for 5 seconds. Then you don't get a black hole. So we hear the outwords, and then it gives time for the vision mixer to be able to come back into the studio. Leave your shots long at the end. This, however, this studio back ref is really, really good telly.
With me now is Harry Acton, who's been following the story. So Harry, now, where exactly are they planning to build these homes?
Well, that's a very good question.
And Juliana, before your very first question, you should know what your first question is, so you don't have to look down. So with us, you're reading off the auto cue, and then you know your first question, or even have it on auto cue so that you don't have to look down and go to Harry. But Harry, you've done a terrific job. Great information. I know some of it you're reading off your laptop, but your studio presence and what you say is really terrific.
Juliana, I mean, Eastleigh Borough Council have multiple sites for these houses. But what campaigners are worried about are the sites they've termed B and C. Now, Site B is between Bishopstoke, Fair Oak and Colden Common. It is the biggest of all the proposed sites, housing about 3,500 homes. And we've got...
Juliana, try and look interested if you can.
Site C, which is between Fair Oak and Upham. And this will hold over 2,000 homes. So to give some perspective, these sites will be twice the size of Bishop's Waltham.
And now, who exactly is against these plans?
Well, it's mainly residents. They are particularly upset by these proposals. With a group called Action Against Destructive Development Eastleigh, they are positioned strongly against the council. Now, they're backed by other organisations, such as the Campaign for Better Transport, who say that these plans would be damaging socially and economically to the local community. They say that instead of these big housing developments, we should expand more naturally, so adding on to Eastleigh already and expanding the transport network as it is. And there's also the environmental side as well, with campaigners raising concerns, and the Forestry Commission has had its say in consultations, and it's said to us it's committed to safeguarding the natural beauty of the land that it owns.
Right, and when will this all be decided then?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, we're looking at the beginning of 2019. There's internal reviews going on right now, and Eastleigh Borough Council have actually recently reached out to neighbouring parish councils to ask them for their views.
Unfortunately, this is another part of the microphone issue. I can hear rustling, which I think is probably Juliana moving because the microphone is strapped to her lapel and rather on the shirt itself. And maybe it fell, because the shirt wasn't strong enough to hold it, or there isn't another button to make it stiffer to be able to hold that, and that's why it's on the side. But if that is the case, then don't put the microphone up through the bottom of the shirt. Let's do it inside the jacket. Because what Harry is saying is really good, but you can just hear this ruffling noise all the time.
So there's quite a bit of a chance it might take longer than they're planning. But again, campaigners have assured me that if the council do push ahead with the sites B and C, they will campaign against it. So I would say it's probable to expect some more instability in the coming months.
Really, really good. Comfortable, knowledgeable, informative. Exactly what you want from a studio back ref like that.
Thank you, Harry. And now for some more local news. An investigation by
See,
winol197.
that's horrible. That's horrible. There's a horrible jump cut. I don't know anyone who thought that would work. How possibly can that work from going from the 2-shot to this recorded shot? It just doesn't make sense. How can you have a jump cut in the studio? So that the thought process of that is all wrong. You must do it live. Or find a way that Juliana reads the first sentence, and then when it goes out of vision, then you've got that on tape.
Significant drop in the number of students being excluded from schools in Hampshire. Our investigation shows the proportion of students being removed from schools in the country is now half the average. We have a special report from our correspondent Joe Lyons.
The revelation that there's...
Again, we've got a little bit of a black hole. We have to run our VT first and then cut to it. Because if you cut first and then run VT, you're going to get a black hole. Now, it may be part of our vision mix machine that actually is doing this, but I suggest not. This, Joe, is really good original investigation, carried out well and presented well in a clear fashion.
There's been a dramatic drop in the number of pupils expelled from school follows an investigation by winol. The numbers became clear after I made a Freedom of Information request to the Children's Services of Hampshire County Council. There are 170,000 students in over 500 schools. The main reason children are taken out of school remains persistently disruptive behaviour.
One simple thing, Joe, I don't know why you didn't say 174,000, because that's what your figure had, and then you said more than 700. That's fine, but I don't know why you didn't say 174. Just grade slightly, but these are good statistics.
According to a report by the Department of Education. And in the last 10 years, there has been a total of 743 exclusions across Hampshire. But the really crucial point I've discovered by making the Freedom of Information request is that over the period, the permanent exclusion rate has reduced significantly. Last year, the permanent exclusion rate for primary, secondary and special schools was 0.04%, half the national average. As for the children that are excluded...
That's good though. I'd like to know, what is that though? How many exclusions? You've come up with this figure, and that's obviously a very small figure, but I'd like to be able to quantify it really. It's great that there's a national average and you put the two together, so that's very good news. I think I would probably quite like to know how many exclusions it is though.
There are 7 education centres in Hampshire which specifically help them. The figures might reassure parents of the general level of discipline in the county's schools.
That's really good. I mean, well done, well presented, well planned, well written, and that tells a story, so well done.
After years of neglect, Bargate Shopping Centre is getting a well-deserved facelift.
Remember, I suggest that, if there is an issue with autocue, that's what your script on your desk is for. Always have a script there as a presenter, as a backup, and be prepared to use it if you need it.
The recipient reports on the development.
Again, a bit too short a link, and we lose the front of this report, which is unfortunate because it's really nicely presented. But again, if you're going to mic up and you're going up here, up underneath the jumper, or just clip it onto the side of your cardigan. Simple things.
It is now the focal point of the City Council's plan to rejuvenate the area by introducing over 300 houses and student flats. After being boarded up in 2013, the shopping centre has become something of an eyesore in the busy city centre. The rejuvenation plan...
On shots like this, don't just let them wander. I mean, this is just sort of drifting towards the left and is a little bit similar to the previous one. Be confident with your shooting so that you've got either keep it still or make a definite move one way or the other rather than just these drifty shots.
And will mean the demolition of the centre and much of the surrounding area to make way for a new shopping and residential district, as well as a street garden.
Sounds like you're rushing your words. Just slow them down so you're explaining to people. You don't have to force it out very, very quickly.
Although the project has been controversial, the area's city councillor, Sarah Bogle, has been all for it.
It's commercial,
One thing here about Sarah Bogle, I just wondered why she's interviewed in her coat inside. She may be going in, she may have just arrived. I'd ask her to take it off. It just looks a bit strange with someone with a coat when they're inside.
It's heritage, it's regeneration of a very important side of the city which so far has struggled because of, since Westquay came along, a lot of the sort of orientation of the city's gone westwards, and so the eastern side of the city centre, even just that near, has lost.
And just be careful of one thing. When you're listening to somebody who you interview, don't interject with a little sounds like a little cat. It's mewing in the interview, because all we want to hear is from them. We know you're there, and I know you're trying to agree with them and bring out the best in their interview. Just nod a lot to them, but that you can do quietly. Don't go
out, so we need to inject some new sort of, vitality into there, because it's looking pretty tired at the moment.
Some local shops in Southampton have opposed the project as it requires them to move and find new premises, something that will affect their business.
See, that's very, very quick as well. Just slow down the voiceover, but the pics are better here.
Nurse of patients for Winchester News Online.
And then you don't need to use your SOQ outside, which is obviously at the end of you've used it at the end of a piece to camera or something, because that voice is clearly outside and there's a change of audio there. Just do it in the voiceover booth, so it's all part of your voiceover. Don't use what's been shot outside. You can do your SOQ, your sound off cue, Angus Scott, Winchester News Online, Winchester, but do it in the voiceover booth, because you'll notice the change of audio between the end of your voiceover and then this bit you've just put on. Another black hole. And Juliana starts talking without moving her lips.
More is getting an upgrade, with new improvements providing something for everyone. This Muga, a multi-use game. The local community came together earlier in the year to plant...
Again, I have no idea what is going on now. I am completely lost because I don't know what this story is about. The sound wasn't faded up. There's a good selection of shots for this, but I don't know what's going on.
New hedgerows while school children share their opinions on the design for the park. Originally, there were plans to build 30 houses on the land, but there was an outcry from residents. Councillor Jamie Scott said, "We welcomed the investment and it was well received by residents. It needed to be kept up as it was a vibrant and well-used area, and we wanted the vibrancy to remain. We look forward to further additions, including a youth shelter for people to sit and have a nose. The next upgrade will be an exciting new BMX track."
That was nicely read, and that is good. But as I said, we're not sure what is going on. But there's a good selection of shots there, so that is much better.
Winchester High Street is facing a common threat, latest crime statistics show. New research indicates there is more than 35 incidents of shoplifting taking place every day across Hampshire.
Don't lose the word shoplifting, because actually that is the story, and I didn't know what this story was all about, because actually you can lose the word shoplifting and you're still searching for what this major crime is on the high street.
Statistics from data.police.co.uk show that Hampshire Constabulary reported over 12,500 offences throughout 2016 and 2017. This was...
I think that might need a graphic. When you start talking figures, you might need a graphic in there. And this story is a little bit strange in that let's go, and you're telling the story about, oh, they've finally repaired this. Let's see the new version. Let's see it done. Otherwise, we're just hauling out old footage without seeing what has been done. This is good footage and good to use it. How the hell has it taken a year to fix? I have no idea. But go back and shoot it and then use your archive as well.
Was a scene nearly a year ago after an elderly female driver crashed into the window of the new energy fitness gym in the city centre. Now the window has finally been replaced. It is not yet known if there will be safety measures installed to prevent such an incident from happening again.
See, that's a good line because you've actually taken it forward and you've thought about the consequences of what actually happened. So that's good, well written, but again, go and shoot it. It won't take long. Go and shoot this and then show a little bit of archive.
But now, let's go across to the newsroom with the latest sports news with Dan Anderson.
Yeah, I don't think let's call it the sports, let's call it the sports hub. Let's call it the sports at the sports desk. Don't say we're in the newsroom and the sports desk. I think that just looks sounds a little bit complicated. And again, after this, we've got a little bit of production difficulty. Oh, me? Oh, am I on? So what you need to do is just stare at the camera and wait for a cue, all right? Just stare at the camera and wait for a cue, and then it'll look better and you won't look so, oh, it's me, I'm on.
Main sport this week was ice hockey, and it was trick and treat at Planet Ice, where the Basingstoke Bison hosted Cardiff Fire.
And just try and keep still. You can see yourself shaking, you know you're doing that. It's all about nervousness. Just try and be a little bit more rigid.
The herd started fast, dousing Cardiff's flames. The goal came from Thomas Karpov after picking up a rebound. The herd continued to control the game, and in the third period added 2 more goals. The fourth goal came after some good build-up play behind the net and was finished off by Karpov for his second.
Now, it's nice using this shot, but you've also, not only have you slowed down the vision, you've slowed down the audio. So you have to steal some audio from elsewhere. It's not cheating, it's just otherwise you get it's very strange sound that sounds like this. So it's very odd. So you need to just steal some sound from the original footage and then play that over this. Yeah, that's very strange. And I think we've got an issue with this angle as well. I'm actually trying to get as close as I can to the screen. I'm not sure I've seen a puck yet.
And the final goal came after Karpov beat his way past the defence and scored the breakaway, completing his hat-trick.
That's better sound, I think. I think you've stolen that, and that's much better. Although the mix between the two is a little bit nasty. And you know the difficulty with this is obviously, look, we've got someone's computer in it. You can't have a shot with someone's computer in it. You might be next to a press box or whoever it might be, but you just can't do that. That's better.
And the treat came as Bison number 29, Oscar Evans, made his senior debut. He managed multiple chances on net in an impressive display. Evans was called up from the under-16s after impressive...
But again, you know, that shot, it's a bit of a jump cut because we've got the same angle, looking the same way.
...displays for the under-18s and the Buffalo. And he looks to have a bright future ahead.
Again, jump cut, looks nasty. And then this bit is loose. very loose. This is a news bulletin. That, you know, I know it's loose at the end, and you're trying to come out, which is what we want. We want long pictures, so well done. But you know, it's a news bulletin. We've got to be sharper. We've got to know our outwords. We've got to know timings, and then you get back in the studio, cut to the studio straight away.
Concerns have been raised over whether a local boxing club may lose its home. This is due to plans for a new leisure centre in Winchester. Our reporter, Jonathan Leck, has more.
Good. Good start, nice sound, nice atmos there, Nat Sot.
Winchester Amateur Boxing Club has been based at the Garrison Ground in Bahrain for 4.5 years.
Good strong start, clear opening line.
But plans by the council to build the new £37 million leisure centre in Bahrain could mean the club would lose its home.
Okay, we want to round the ground down, so guys, you stay where you are. This row, you move.
Philip Duda has been running the club ever since it was founded. And whilst his coaching at the club undoubtedly improves people's fitness, it also serves as a key programme for children and adults who struggle with anger management and behavioural issues. Whilst Mr Duda did not want to comment on the current issue, he did state that the council is working hard with him to ensure that the boxing club would not lose its place as an integral part of Winchester's sporting community. Jonathan Leck, Winchester News Online.
And look, this is a really valid story, and you've got some really good pictures there, and I like this. I think that's a really nicely shot end shot. But we've not. If he's not willing to talk, what about the boxers? What it means to them? How long they've been there? All that sort of stuff. Someone would have spoken to you, I am sure. So it's important to get a flavour. You've got a third of the story, but there's a lot more to come out of that. And while the pictures might be good, and the essence of the story is good, and you've told what you have well, we're missing a lot of quality by talking to people in this and getting word from the council, who's building this leisure centre, and all the implications of that, and developing this story.
Well, that's all the sport for today, and back to you, Juliana.
Yeah, Dan, it's fine. You know, you've read it well. 2 simple bits. That hand it back. Thanks very much indeed. Again, sound an issue, flipping from one part of one studio to another.
The last day in October may be Halloween, but it also marks the end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's an issue that affects so many people, and with that in mind, Victoria Ruquin reports on some of this month's fundraising events in Winchester and further afield.
Yes. Money in a bag in exchange for wearing pink. October was Breast Cancer
Nice opening line. Nice opening line. Well done.
Awareness Month. And as the pink ribbon turns 25, this year has been the most successful one yet.
So we're the Winchester Spirits, we're Winchester University's cheerleading team. We're here tonight all in pink because we're doing breast cancer awareness. So we've all brought in £1 to raise some money. There's so many people that you don't hear about that are affected by breast cancer, and they really need the help and the money that comes from the support from charity events like this. You can't think that you don't need to give money and you can't help someone, because even £1 goes a long way for something like this.
Be careful of the sound here. The way it's coming across for me, and this may be the way it's compressed, is a lot of atmos, and I can't hear him much. So just get the balance right there.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the UK. 1 in 8 women will develop it at some point in their lifetime, and this October alone, around 5,000 people were diagnosed with the disease.
Good stat, and really important to get things like that. It puts everything into perspective.
I think it's really, really important that we do charity events like this, because not only are we raising money for such amazing charities that do such great work, but we also have such good fun doing it. It's team spirit, and we bring the team together. So, yeah.
Any reason why she is looking directly to camera and your previous interviewee was like an interviewee? Just great, slightly, but what she says is fantastic.
It's great.
It's really good. We do it every year. Everyone dresses up, gets in the team spirit to raise money to help a good cause and save lives.
Thousands of people take part in what are known as pink events every year to help raise vital funds for breast cancer support and research. These happen all over the UK, with people from different places sharing the same goal.
My daughter-in-law's mother's had breast cancer. We know a lot of people that have had breast cancer. We just thought, well, we'll do it. So we're here today to do it.
Well, I'm a pirate by nature, so I just thought I'd wear a pink pirate suit.
We want to support them so they can get better and they can run with us.
England, Northern Ireland and the rest of the world seen people from all walks of life unite for one very worthy cause, to find a cure for breast cancer. Victoria Quinn, Winchester News Online, Belfast.
That explains why there are so many Northern Irish accents going on in that. Well, it's really nice that you've done that. And obviously with an event that you know. And what is also really good is the fact that you've interviewed so many people, because it brings the whole thing to life. And that is really, really important. It needs colour, it's got that. It needs people involved, which the boxing didn't. And it just makes it all stand out. And you must have spoken to about 6, 7 people there, everyone giving their own thoughts on what is a decent story, what's a very serious problem. And I think you've done it really, really nicely, just because it's got a lot of flavour. It's actually quite a long piece, but it doesn't seem that way because you've got so much in it. So well done.
With more mammal habitats disappearing from Hampshire, the University of Winchester is doing what they can to take care of the small creatures living on campus.
Sorry, the University of Winchester is doing what it can. There is only one university.
Andrea Carlson investigates.
The Hampshire Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust.
Just let the beginning, there's a bit of sound at the beginning of that, a bit of natural sound, just let that develop a little bit longer before your voice comes in.
Have, together with the university, put out traps in order to catch and collect data on small mammals. This tiny mouse was not very happy being woken up this morning. He was even less happy when he was taken out of his warm new bed, gender checked and measured. The University of Winchester is
Are you recording this in a toilet?
doing this to make sure the mammals on campus are properly taken care of, and to find out what can be done to make sure that they will have it even better.
Your microphone is clearly not faded up properly, or you're on the wrong mic. So this needed to be redone. This should have been checked before it went to air.
We've been working with Hampshire.
You see, the sound of this is proper quality, but previously it's awful on the voiceover. Lovely pictures at the start though.
Wildlife Trust for the last 18 months on campus, and we've written a biodiversity action plan.
And this needs a little bit of sound underneath, not to be mute, okay? You need a little bit of sound underneath this shot that is a cutaway.
It's just nice to know that we've got the mammals on campus, and when we're managing our hedgerows we can make sure that we're managing them sensitively. Some of the other data that we've
Who is this person? I don't think we've captioned this person yet.
collected on campus, or that Sarah and her colleagues have collected when writing the action plans.
And she's talked about Sarah, and we haven't introduced Sarah into a story, so I don't think we know who this person is.
Helps in terms of our grounds team when they're doing grounds management. So when they're out mowing the sort of grassy areas.
See, this all needs sound underneath it.
They're now starting to sort of manage those a bit more sensitively because we've surveyed them. We know what's in our grassy areas. There's lots of wildflowers. So
that was very soft to begin with. Now it's in focus. So take this shot later.
By reducing the cutting regimes or leaving the edges long, which we did in the summer, that's helping wildlife.
In the end, 1 wood mouse and 4 bulls were caught and checked. They were of course set free straight after, and were probably very happy to find a new bed back in nature. Andrea Carlson, Winchester News Online.
Good story, Andrea. I mean, and you've made a good attempt to tell it, but there are a few technical issues there that you need to work on. But nice shots. It's nice to do an animal story and something like this where we actually see pictures of the animals involved. Very often we have to use library shots because we don't get any pictures of them. So well done on that score, because without them, obviously, there ain't much of a story. But you also, what you've done there is let that lady talk for quite a long time. There are bits of what she says that you could say more succinctly and precisely, so therefore you don't have to use so much of her. And talk to some of the volunteers who are doing it, who worked in the study as well. So we're hearing from more than just one person. Like in Victoria's piece, we had lots and lots of people that we spoke to. In yours, there's just the one. So we need a bit more flavour and a balance in the story.
Just before we go, trick-or-treaters everywhere will be enjoying the Halloween festivities tonight.
Yes, waiting.
That's all for today from Winchester News Online. Thank you and have a happy Halloween.
Well, yes. I mean, let's not start it again because it was a bad start. Look, the end doesn't. Yes, you can reflect Halloween, but you don't just put up a couple of shots of pumpkins. There has to be a voiceover. There has to be something, or you play out, put a bit of music underneath it, and just have lots of Halloween shots. It's not quite thought through. And I think still, as I said earlier on, it's a little bit rushed as a project, and it needed more rehearsal going through the studio. But well done to some of those reporters who've come up with some decent stories, original stories, which we like. There's a real blend of what is going on there, and some real effort, but we need to technically get better, as Brian and Chris will no doubt testify as well, and have already said. So keep up the good work, and I will speak to you next week.